Hello everyone, I'm Jeong-Ah Shin at Dongguk University. Today I will give a talk about L2 structure priming on experimental paradigm and its implication to L2 learning. First, I will briefly tell you about what syntactic or structure priming is and structure priming across languages and within languages. And then I will show you its implication to L2 learning. One of the interesting topics in applied linguistics or psycholinguistics is to examine the bilingual mind, that is, L2 learner's mind. I mean that bilinguals are speakers who use two languages, including unbalanced bilinguals, L2 learners. Especially, it is very intriguing to explore whether bilingual language systems are separate or shared, integrated, specifically in terms of syntactic representations. To examine the L2 learners' syntactic representation, a structural or syntactic priming paradigm has been often used. Syntactic or structure priming is the tendency of speakers to reuse the same structure pattern as one that was previously heard or produced. Syntactic priming can occur regardless of meaning, lexicon, and sound, so it can give some evidence for autonomous abstract syntax in the mind. Of course, it is sometimes lexically bound as well. This phenomenon has been observed in dialogue, naturalistic corpus data, and experimental settings. Let's take an example. This is an example of structure priming found in a dialogue. There are two men, a robber, and a lookout, talking to each other using old device, walkie-talkie. And in a part of their conversation, robber said, "You've got to hear and witness it to realize how bad it is." And then, listening to that, a lookout said, "You have got to experience exactly the same position as I made to understand how I feel." You notice that lookout reused the phrase and the structure with the other words. So this phenomenon is called structure priming. So structure priming is a phenomenon to reuse the same structure as ones that was previously heard or produced. Also, it is a method or paradigm for studying the mental representations that underlie language. When it comes to experimental paradigms, we can use several production tasks like picture description, sentence fragment completion task, and sentence recall task. Also, we can observe syntactic priming effects during comprehension, faster reading time in self-paced reading, and eye tracking. And also we can find some results from the brainwave, so-called ERPs, event relative potentials. such as reduced P600 effects. Here is an example of a picture description task to elicit structure priming. After listening to this sentence, the boy is reading the girl a book. The participants are asked to describe the picture, and they have two options to produce. The first option is the woman is showing the man a dress. And the second option is the woman is showing a dress to the man. Because of the previous sentence, you are more likely to produce the first sentence. This previous sentence have two objects, so-called double object dative. Likewise, the first sentence has the same structure as the previous sentence. Therefore, the same pattern influenced the choice of utterances, regardless of meaning. It is structure priming. The previous sentence is called prime sentence, and the sentence you produced is called target sentence. Structure priming can occur across languages, L1 to L2 or L2 to L1. This priming is called cross-linguistic syntactic or structure priming, and it is used for investigations of bilingual syntactic representation and processing. Here are some work of mine for Korean English learner. For example, Shin and Christensen, 2009, Hwang Shin and Haswiker, 2018. For Chinese English learners, 2013, Chen et al. And Hwang and Shin, 2019. Those are the published article using cross-linguistic syntactic priming. Let's take a look at the first study published in Journal Cognition in 2009. The research questions of this study were whether bilingual syntactic processing is shared between two typologically different languages, Korean and English, and which account is supported, shared syntax account or separate syntax account. If it is shared, what kind of syntactic information is shared? Functional relations or positional relations? I used dative structures in English and Korean. As we know, English has two alternatives, prepositional dative and double object dative. Korean also has two structures, PD and DO, prepositional dative and double object dative. But it has one more option, scrambled order, like number 1. These two conditions are important because they share the structure with the English prepositional dative, but the order of arguments is different. Here are the results. The x-axis represents the condition 1, 2, and 3, and y-axis represents the percentage of English PD production. The statistics shows that there is no difference between 1 and 2, but there is a significant difference between them and 3. So it shows ordered independent structure priming, providing support for shared representation in the bilingual mind. Specifically, the shared information is structure, functional relations. There is no unique contribution of a surface or the order. The second study investigated order-independent structure priming in Chinese-English bilinguals using active and passive structures. Chinese active sentence shares the structure and word order with English active sentence. However, Chinese passive sentence shares the structure with the English passive, but the order is different between Chinese passives and English passives. We found structure priming between Chinese passives and English passives. This result supported Shin and Christensen's order-independent structure priming. One more extension of order-independent priming is published in 2019. This study examined the long-term cumulative between language priming with actives and passives in English and Chinese. We used a pre-test priming or post-test design, training toward one structure. In the priming session, the result shows that when biased toward producing passives in Chinese in the priming session, participants produced more passives in English in the subsequent post-test. So this is evidence for bilingual processing, which involves implicit learning mechanisms because it is in long term. So short-lived residual activation mechanisms cannot explain this effect. Now let's talk about structure priming within languages, that is L2 to L2 priming. Structure priming can be used within languages to see L2 implicit learning mechanism. In particular, syntactic adaptation in short term or long term. Here are my L2 syntactic priming studies with the Korean learners of English. For example, Shin and Christensen 2012 and Seo and Shin 2019, and also Chinese learners of English. For example, Wei, Kim and Shin 2022. For example, the study published in Language Learning in 2012 investigated L2 implicit learning, that is syntactic adaptation, in long-term priming. So it used English dative structures with two kinds of syntactic priming, long leg priming and immediate priming. In pre-test priming, post-test design, training toward English double object datives only. Here are some examples here. So short immediate priming involves just to prime and target in pairs. However, in long leg condition, there are several fillers between the prime and target. That's the difference between two conditions. And the result shows that structure priming effects were found for both conditions, but the long leg condition showed retention on the next day, supporting the implicit learning process when it comes to the long leg prime. In addition, another study investigated lexically specific mechanism versus autonomous abstract syntax, which are involved in L2 comprehension depending on language proficiency. Using a self-paced reading task, focusing on the relative clause. Here is the example of a self-paced reading task. And on the screen, the participants read the sentence by pressing the button or space bar when they read a word by word. For example, this sentence is a practice sentence, like this. So this is reading time data, so we can measure this reading time online while the participants is reading a sentence, word by word or phrase by phrase. Using a self-paced reading task, Shin 2019 examined structure priming in L2 comprehension using reduced relative clauses, that is also called garden path sentences, which are temporarily ambiguous in the middle of a sentence. Let's take a look at this sentence. The girl hugged by the grandparent felt safe and warm. When you read the word felt, you might reanalyze the sentence. Oh, this is the main verb, not hugged, right? Yes, it might lead to longer reading times when you read the word felt. However, after reading prime sentence using the same word hugged, participants can read the target sentence faster because the previous prime sentence, that is priming effect, structure priming effect in comprehension, faster reading time. Okay? And Shin 2019, this study also examined whether the synonym prime can lead to structure priming effect, that is faster reading time in the target, depending on the participant's language proficiency. So instead of the words hugged, we used embraced. So we compared repeated prime and synonym prime. The result shows that students with low proficiency read the target faster, target after repeated prime faster than after synonym prime. So they used the lexically bound representation, that is called the lexical boost. However, high proficiency students did a very good job even after synonym prime. Then it shows the development of autonomous abstract syntax from item-based and lexically bound learning to abstract syntax as proficiency increases. So far, the studies shows that structure priming can enhance L2 learning and lead to long-term cumulative implicit learning or adaptation. And also, as proficiency increases, structural priming effects without lexical repetition can be found in L2 comprehension. That is, abstract syntax develops as proficiency increases. Also, syntactic representations of L1 and L2 can be integrated in the mind of L2 learners. The results of the structure priming studies can contribute to mechanisms of language processing, that is, language and the mind of L2 learners. Also, it can further provide implications for human interaction and conversation theories and practice and teaching and learning in classroom. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me anytime. Thank you.